You know, the atmosphere also in Barotac Nuevo, where I grew up, it's really different. Like if you play in front of the Ilonggo supporters, you feel like they're helping you so much. Your energy is different.
Yeah.
It's really different.
Welcome to Across the Line. On today's episode, we've got Jovin Bedic, normally confused as a Croatian sensation, but he is all homegrown from Barotac Nuevo. We talk about a lot on this podcast: his upbringing from the football capital of the Philippines, all the way to becoming a rival of his old hometown as a West Negros player, all the way to him becoming a national team player and a homegrown star in the game of football here in the Philippines. If you enjoy the episode, if you enjoy the football content that we provide here on Across the Line, then we invite you to please help support the show by subscribing on YouTube, Spotify, and on Apple Podcasts.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Across the Line. Here with me today, I've got Jing Jamlang, who's sitting in the hot seat. How are you?
Doing all right.
How does it feel to be this side of the table?
It's refreshing. I like it. I like it here.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Still a mysterious fella, just the guy who pops in the show.
Yeah,
a little bit more often
it's becoming a regular occurrence.
Right.
You being here.
Yeah.
So, thank you for coming in and joining us and sharing the hot seat with me today. We're trying to establish his real name, aren't we?
Yeah.
Because you go under many monikers. So Jovin is in the house, but Bedic or Bedic? Which one is it?
No. Bedic.
You sure?
Yeah.
Because we were just talking there earlier, weren't we? There was a rumor that you were half Croatian before.
April Fools. So.
April Fools.
Yeah.
So it's not actually true.
So he's not Croatian.
He's not.
So what's with the Instagram handle? Vidic.
No, I just heard it from the commentator, so I just follow it.
Brilliant. But thanks for coming on. Jovin has been, whenever we put out, we would love to have such and such on the show, his name keeps cropping up. And we've been trying to get you on the show for so long, haven't we? I mean, I've seen his schedule for the past 4 months, pretty much. Right? We keep trying to, can we get you on here? Can we get you on there? And finally, we've managed to find a time slot where we can get you on. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
I want to start the interview because you've got a very important game coming up on the weekend. You've got the Paulino Alcantara Cup final.
Well done, Chris.
How was that pronunciation? Was that good?
Not bad.
And from one famous Iloilo son to another, you are already synonymous with this competition based on your exploits of last year. So what better way to start off as a preview to this weekend's upcoming final than talk about last year's final against Davao? Obviously, I was on the coaching staff at the time, but what do you remember of the cup final from last year?
Oh my God. Until now, I can feel it na iba talagang feeling. Kasi you scored the winning goal. So it's very different now. And, we prepared for this also, this cup final. So I think for me, maybe the same siguro yung mangyayari.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you remember last season's build-up? Like before we played Davao, we were on quite a good run, weren't we? I think we went some like 9 or 10 games unbeaten, building up from the back end of the league into the cup. So I think we were in really, really good form. You in particular were on fire at that time. Obviously, I can see it from a coach's perspective, but you're always going to tell me, yeah, we're confident, Chris, we're confident. But were you quite confident going into the final that you think we were going to win the final?
Yeah, and of course, we had also Mendy. I was really working hard so much in the game, every game. Yeah. He scored in the semis a hat-trick.
Yeah, that's right. Against Stallions, wasn't it?
Yeah, in Iloilo. And of course, sa Iloilo naman, yung supporters, ibang klase talaga. So, I think yun din yung nagdala, the supporters and the fans din sa Iloilo.
Yeah. Because when we went to the final of Davao, I think they were also on an equally good run. I think they qualified out of probably a tougher group. We had the sort of the easier group, didn't we?
Yeah.
and they qualified out of it, won the semi-final quite easily. I think they won, was it 6-0 or something, the semi-final against JPV.
JPV, right.
So they were going into it, and I remember, I think it was the pre-game press conference, and Lee Manson, their coach, was sort of saying like, yeah, we're quite confident. We're in a good run of form. And I remember speaking to the guys the day before, and I was like, no.
Yeah, of course they had the best players also. They have Phil, James, yeah.
Yeah, they were. I think obviously 6-0 or 7-0 in the final, whatever, semi-final, whatever it was. I could understand they were confident. And then in the game itself, I thought we played really, really well. But for whatever reason, we just couldn't score. I thought we had loads of chances. We had a couple of really good set plays that we'd worked on all week, hadn't we?
Yeah.
And then we just couldn't score. Did you think there was going to be a time where we were just going to have to go to penalties and see how chance our luck?
I don't know, because the time is running out. It's 118 minutes.
Yeah, it's went extra time, didn't it?
Yeah. It's just, I don't know what happened. It's just, Mendy was, I don't know, he still have the legs, but he was injured.
He was injured, wasn't it? Yeah.
So we just work hard, and our team is really working there until the end. So
yeah,
I think we deserve that win. I think.
Well, obviously we're leading towards the key moment.
And they had the red card.
Yeah, so that was really the key moment in that game. I think was the red card, and that gave us the impetus to really push forward. But even then, even in extra time, we were creating chances but not finishing them.
Yeah.
And I was like, we're just running out of time. We were running out of time. And I think actually, you had quite a quiet game. You weren't as influential as you had been maybe in the build-up. I remember I wasn't contemplating taking you off, but I was thinking about maybe moving you into a different position where you could perhaps have more influence on the game. But in the end, we opted to keep you on in the striker position with Mendy, and I think we ended up putting Nano in. Nano came on, didn't he, at that time, and Woody, and we kept the shape, because I always felt like either you or Mendy was in the big moments. I always felt like something was going to happen potentially, but obviously we got into like the 119th minute. And then, we get the goal kick, and I'm thinking, we might get one more chance. Do you remember much of the build up for the goal? What can you remember from the build up?
I think Ace played the ball to Camelo. Then Camelo passed the ball to Miguel.
Yeah.
Then pass it back to Odi.
Yeah.
Then straight ball to Mendy, and then that's the last push. I think. We just, just two of us there, Mendy and I. I don't know where are the other guys. It's just one last push. Yeah.
But where did you get that energy from? Because because if you watch it on the clip, you make a real strong run towards the box, and you have to basically, I forget who it is. Is it James Hall? Who's the guy who's running with you?
Yeah, Adam Reed and James Hall.
Reed and Hall. Yeah, James Hall. But once Mendy gets the other side of marker, it's just a straight race then for who's going to get into the box. Where did you get that energy from in the 119th minute?
I don't know, from training also, but, it's just Mendy who's, and it's your mindset that you have to be there. Of course, you have to help your striker. So, I don't know, I just run and that's it.
You just make it look so simple. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that was a crazy game. I think Mendy pulled his hamstring, 15 minutes in? 20 minutes into the game?
Yeah, he already had the injury, didn't he? Yeah.
And he tweaked it early. It seemed as if there were some players who weren't going to make it out of that game, but you guys just soldier on all throughout. I wasn't there. I didn't get a chance to see it live.
Where were you?
I was at a hotel. I was hosting a wedding. Yeah. Remember that final got pushed a week back. It was supposed to be the week prior that we were going to play that game, but I don't remember why. It was delayed a week. It hit right on the wedding that I was hosting, and then I had to watch it from, live stream it, going crazy in the back room because Jovin and the crazy eyes, after he scored that, right? You remember yung mukha mo, that picture? It's just like, you're going to murder someone, you know what I mean? Like it looked like he was just out of his mind. What a photo that was.
Yeah. What can you remember from that goal? Like the emotions that it brought out? Because that picture is like, I can see that image in my mind. Like you said, just your eyes are like wild.
After I saw that ball inside the net, I was just like, oh my God. Because of course, Paulino Alcantara is from Iloilo, so it's really big for me
Mm.
to score that one. So I was like, I was trying to kill someone or no. Yeah, that's it. I can still feel it.
Yeah?
Yeah, until now.
I think because it was so late, it was literally 119th minute, and all their players, obviously, they're collapsed on the floor, and I think we all run to the corner flag, right? And we're all just jumping on top of each other, and we know that unless something crazy, really crazy happens in the next 30 seconds, we're gonna win this competition. But I mean, I don't know how you felt about it, but for me, it felt like justification for all of the hard work that we'd put in. Because especially you, like I know you had that particular season, you'd put in a lot of hard work. You really, really dedicated yourself
Yeah,
to.
and also I played on the side, on the wing, the first
bit
yeah.
of the season, and then once we moved you inside to the number sort of 2 striker role with you and Mendy, who had completely. You were just on fire for probably 3 or 4 months.
And also after we moved to Iloilo,
Yeah.
that helps a lot.
Yeah, what was it about playing in front of? I mean, we always say that, we always knew that when we went down there, we felt it would have an impact. But I think between you and Mendy, for whatever reason, like Mendy has no affinity with Iloilo, but for whatever reason, there seemed to be something when you went down there and played that brought the best out of you. What was it, do you think?
Because the atmosphere also in Barotac Nuevo, where I grew up, it's really different. Like if you play in front of the Ilonggo supporters, you feel like they're helping you so much. Your energy is different.
Yeah,
it's really different.
Because I think, was it you talking about the fact that it was it's a different type of crowd. It's a more knowledgeable crowd.
Right.
It's they understand the game.
Sure.
A lot more.
I think it's because people play the game a little bit more. They've been exposed to it at some point in their lives, whether it's a family member who's played football, or they watch growing up, or they play the game themselves. So when somebody receives the ball in a tight spot, gets their way out of it, like Jovin does a lot, they appreciate that, And when you were asking earlier about like what it was about Mendy getting started in Iloilo as well, that was because he had scored the game prior, ending 6 months drought of no goals in Panad. He had scored, and then Minta got injured on that first day that we were in Iloilo, and Mendy scored a hat trick, and everybody loved him after that, and he was like, "This is my place. This is my home."
That's true.
And it was the same for Jovin. Watching him, it's like it's a different. Like we always knew Jovin was good, but something different. Like there was a next level that we didn't see, and he unlocked it in Iloilo for sure.
Yeah.
At least in my mind.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that's a nice segue into, because we were talking before we turned on the microphones and turned on the cameras, that we really wanted to get to know your backstory, what it was like growing up in Iloilo. We were talking on the way here because I drove with Jovin in the car, and I discovered that you've got your brother was one of the big influences when you were growing up.
He was the best player before.
Yeah, talk to me about your brother. Tell me about him.
Of course, in Iloilo, in Barotac Nuevo, of course, there's a football capital of the Philippines. So, when we're 3 or 4 years old, we're already there in the plaza playing football. So, because of course my father also is he was a coach. Then he trained us in the elementary level. Then he just developed us there, all the kids. And then this my brother was so fast. He has the body.
Yeah.
He has the finishing, the techniques. Then he was our captain in high school.
How many years older is he than you?
3 years.
3 years older than you. Okay.
And then he was our captain in high school. But then unluckily we play against Santa Barbara also in Iloilo. We play in Barotac Nuevo. Then of course we're also rivals there. In Iloilo, the Santa Barbara and the Barotac Nuevo. And then the player stepped on his foot, and then he twisted his leg. Then he don't feel anything. It's just he just broke his leg, And then after that, we're I think it's a good thing also, but in a in a good way that he broke his leg, because after that, my aunt offered him for his study,
Scholarship.
a scholarship for his study. So he took nursing in Iloilo, and then after that, his girlfriend was in Canada, so he went to Canada for for a job, and then that's why he supported us until now.
And he lives there now.
Yeah,
You still
Okay.
you still
Yeah.
live there now.
yeah, with his two kids.
There we go. So I guess in his bad moment, it ended up
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
working out for him. So then obviously from there, now the pressure's on you, the younger brother.
yeah.
And I know you've had a lot of different influences within your career, but it seems that one of the names that keeps cropping up with individuals who influence you heavily. I mean, Norman Fegidero is one who he keeps constantly popping up when we think about you and your, especially in your career of in transitioning from being a youth player into the professional game. His name keeps cropping up because you went from playing as a young player in Iloilo, and then if I'm right, he then took you to West Negros,
Yeah.
the college team.
Yeah.
Tell me-
He offered me a scholarship in West Negros. Then this we played in South Cotabato, the Palarong Pambansa before.
Okay.
Then there's a lot of universities, colleges offered me a scholarship in Manila. But then we don't have money for our studies. So at least it's nearer than Manila, the Bacolod.
Right.
So he offered me a scholarship, allowances, then I can go back and forth to my family on the weekend. So I think that's so much better than playing in Manila. You don't have parents, your family is not
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah.
I think that's better. Then it was his name was really really there all the time. Norman Fegidero from Air
Yeah.
Force. So and he's a friend of my father. So
Okay.
So you knew him. Kilala mo na siya.
yeah, yeah.
Way before.
Yeah.
Right. Norman's pretty famous, right? I mean,
Yeah. Big deal.
national team player. What else is Norman known for?
Well, he was actually our national team coach
Okay.
for a while. So Norman, I heard about Norman from even before I actually met him. So he had been synonymous with that team from the 91 SEA Games. And, I know he's a big part of that. And then a lot of people would talk about how good. Is he from Iloilo also?
Bacolod.
He's
Bacolod.
from Bacolod.
Mm.
And then when I first met Jovin, which was in 2007 in Iloilo, which I think was it the Challenge Cup qualifiers,
Challenge Cup.
right? That was it. So Jovin was like this prodigious, precocious 17-year-old kid,
Yeah.
and
Hot stuff.
hot stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like Norman was like, yeah, this is the hottest property out there.
Yeah.
And that's the first time that I met him. But I found Norman to be a very a knowledgeable coach. Very he gave me a lot of time. He would explain his ideas really, really well. I think it's a shame that he only lasted one camp, because I think had he had a bit more time to work with the team, I think he would have been a really good
Like
coach.
3
for
months.
us.
3 months from Manila
Yeah.
to Iloilo.
And I only came the day before the tournament.
Yeah.
So
You're
I-
a robust player, I think.
He knows. He always knows. But I was only there for what, probably a week, less than a week. So it was a shame really I didn't get to work with him more than I did. But from the obviously the short time that I worked with him, and then talking to people who have worked with him, a lot of people said that Norman was a really
bright mind.
really
Good
great
player.
footballing mind, and he's a really nice guy as well. Super
Spotted
nice
good
guy.
talent too in Jovin. And he brought you to West Negros, which I heard was a bit of a controversy. Wala ba nag-offer sa'yo sa Iloilo mismo? Same sort of package?
No, just the scholarship. So there's no allowances. Walang kahit ano. Kahit nga bigas nag-offer pa si coach for my family before.
Really?
Yeah. every month. Yeah.
So that was the best offer. And Norman's a good coach. He's got a great profile.
Yeah.
So you went to West Negros. I heard that did not go down too well sa mga tao sa Iloilo.
Before nung under 19 na kasi I was playing in Bacolod and Iloilo nga, syempre yung hometown natin. But then yun nga nagalit sila sa akin, so I was banned for playing in Iloilo for 1 year. Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
So you could not play any football when you visited home in Barotac Nuevo.
Yeah.
Hindi ka nila papalaro.
Even inter-barangay, I cannot play.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Wow. They take it seriously, huh?
Very seriously.
Kasi I scored the semi-final goal 2-1 against Iloilo. When we play in Iloilo.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Did you celebrate?
It's hard. Yeah, but
Did you celebrate?
yeah, of course. And then I remember this guy, the coach. He told me, "So are you happy now?" So I was like, "Oh."
Ano sabi mo?
Sabi ko, sorry, it's just a game, and I'm studying in Bacolod, so I have to play there.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
That's it.
Wow. And we were talking about some of the teammates that you had on that West Negros team. Some of them are obviously still your teammates.
Yeah, in
today. In Kaya,
in Kaya.
So tell us some about some of the players that you work with there.
We have Jal Soriano, Janric Soriano, Camelo Tacosalme. Yeah, we still have players from Bacolod. So.
And then what he's also saying was there was a really strong rivalry with the LaSalle boys.
Yeah.
So some of the same names were there, right?
Andito pa rin sila Arnie Dads Pasinabo,
Yep.
Jason Panhay, Michael Casas.
Oh wow, this is 2019 Kaya right here.
Yeah, and because I didn't realize the rivalry was so strong until I remember Bob. He maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Bob Guerrero. He kept saying, "Oh, we should have a Bacolod Iloilo game. We should try and
All-Star
arrange
game.
it."
All-Star
and then
game.
the All-Star weekend. I remember we ended up fixing up that game. And in the first game, someone needs to correct me if I'm wrong here. Was it like, I forget, what was the first game in the All-Star weekend? It wasn't that game. Because that was the game before we played the UFL All-Stars against the national team.
Oh, there was a different one.
There was so when they played that game, I remember watching it and I was like, this was more intense than any other game that I'd seen in the Philippines. It was the most intense, and it was only supposed to be a friendly, like a show, but it was super, super intense. Why do you think the rivalry is so big between the two communities?
Of course, kasi yung Bacolod and Iloilo, sinasabi niyang rivals nga. Kasi from the elementary level until high school level, nagko-compete every championship game yung Bacolod and Iloilo. So from there, parang nadala na until college, until now, even in the professional league.
Yeah.
Sares, Kaya, still.
Yeah, it's still the same, right? Yeah. So then the key question is, which area produces the best players?
Of course, Iloilo. Of course, Barotac Nuevo. That's why
No hesitation there.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
That's why we call football capital of the Philippines, right?
Is it? Yeah.
So Bacolod people get mad at me again.
Yeah.
It's a controversial statement. But yeah, I mean, there are a lot of players. And when you look back in history, Barotac Nuevo, napakaraming players that have donned the national jersey. And we talked about a lot over the last couple episodes is Chieffy Caligdong. Did you grow up in this? I heard you grew up in the same town.
Same.
As Chieffy. Did you see him growing up and excelling in the game?
No, but when I was in college, we played together in the Barotac selection team against this Air Force, this Army team. So nakita ko and also with Araneta. And then I remember when we play there in that town in barangay, there's what they call this, the money,
It's a pot.
a pot. Then when they saw us, Chieffy, me, and Ayan, they canceled the pot.
Oh, really?
So Ian and Chieffy are really our best players. Also in Yanti Bersales,
Yeah.
Balot.
Yeah, they're also from Iloilo. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah,
What a team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it? What is it about Iloilo that you think enables them to produce so many good footballers?
I don't know. Maybe if where you grew up, like when you see players, also the best players in Iloilo and Barotac, then you will think that I will be like this, like him someday, like that.
Yeah, because we went down there and we were doing like clinics and stuff, and it's not like there's not loads of facilities, and there's not loads of coaches, or there's not loads of not even lots of players actually. There's not, but when I remember doing a few clinics, and you could see, obviously I work in youth football, you know that, and I remember when I compare kids that we work with here in Manila versus the kids that I would see, just even in like these small pocket clinics that we would run down in Iloilo, like just the hunger, like the intensity at which they play, it seems to be, for me, it seemed a lot higher. And then even when I translate that to the players, even at the professional level, the ones that grow up here and are exposed to the sort of the collegiate setup here, of those kids versus the ones that I see that have grown up, I would say even in the Visayas region in general, they seem a lot more hungry. They seem more determined. Don't get me wrong, they have their problems too. They seem to be more fiery. They seem to have more disciplinary issues. You're one of them. Sometimes you get a little bit too crazy, but you know. But I think there seems to be this. I don't know. There definitely seems to be a greater and a stronger passion, I think, for the game in that region versus what we have here in Manila. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, of course, and then the physicality there.
Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah. Until now, they bring it in the professional level.
Yeah.
Air Force, Army, you know them that very physical, right?
Yeah.
So bakit kaya ganun, no? Why is it more acceptable in Barotac Nuevo that you guys, is that just a foregone conclusion that this is the way dapat maglaro ng football is physical?
Maybe just the pride. Of course, every player wants to be the best. So siguro yun nga. Gusto nila, ayaw nila magpatalo.
Yeah.
I think that's true. Like, I definitely the team that you're in now, which most of the guys there were there last year when I was there. Even like you said, Casas, for example, who wasn't, but I've played with him internationally. Definitely pride is something that emanates from these. Like, they're very, very proud of their roots. Obviously, you've encountered that means that if you go against them, you're going to get their wrath or their scorn. But I definitely feel that, especially the people from the Visayas region, they are very passionate about where they're from, and they definitely wear their heart on their sleeve and show their colours with a lot of pride. But I think they've represented them really, really well. I think if you look, especially with the representation in the national team, I mean, when you think about how many players have come from those regions versus any other region in the Philippines, the vast majority of players have come from the Visayas region.
For sure.
I think probably only ones really I can think of off the top of my head who have gone on and represented the national team at full national team level from outside of that region is probably Armani Aguinaldo, out of the homegrown players. Is that right?
He's Mindanao, right?
He's Mindanao.
Yeah.
Right.
At the moment. Ace is Manila. He was in for a little while.
Villanueva, the goalkeeper.
Yeah, okay. Dato, same, Manila.
Yeah.
But if you look back
historically.
Yeah, historically, everybody's from Iloilo or Negros, for that matter.
I want to go back a little bit with bringing Norman back into play, because Iloilo 2007 was the first time that I met Jove, and like I said, when I first came into the camp, actually it was quite an important one because that was Neil Everidge's first camp. I think there was a couple other players that came in. Boyet Cañedo, that was his first competition. Who I thought was a really, really good player. Yeah. Really good player. I know you and...
Yeah, he was our captain in West Negros.
Fantastic player. Really, really good player. And little backstory with this, there was a time when I think we had just signed Jovin, and I really wanted to get Boyet to come to us. And it was... Boyet made the decision to go to Loyola.
Right.
And Jovin had made the decision to come to us. And I remember about 12 months later, Boyet had messaged me and was like, "Oh, do you think I could come over?" But it was that ship had sort of sailed. And I sort of look at the two of them a little bit like they both had very different trajectories. And, Boyet went into a club in Morocco where I think they had a lot of big personalities, and he probably struggled to deal with some of those personalities, like just kind of went into his shell. And then you, for example, went from strength to strength. I think you blossomed into, obviously, the player we know now. But what I really want to talk about with that Iloilo 2007 group is you went from obviously being a star player in that West Negros team to coming in to the national team with all these obviously big name players, but big name players. What do you remember of that first time when you were called up to the national team?
Because Norman Fegidero is also our coach in West Negros, so he brought us Lembal Onobia, the guys from West Negros also. So he said, just this is your exposure also. And then I remember one time when we play against Bhutan, and he said, I think I'm gonna play Ian than you because you're younger. So I said, no problem with that, coach. At least exposure and experience. It's better now.
Did you make your debut in that competition?
No.
You didn't come on, did you? Because I remember that game, I think it was played on the Holyfield, wasn't it? In front of the church. And we had like a really good crowd, didn't we? We had a really good crowd. And like for me, it was one of the most unique football experiences that I've ever had, because the first two games were played at the complex, right, where Kaya plays its games now. And then the third, because obviously the last group game, you have to play at the same time. So you have to play at the same time as the other two games.
So you needed another.
Simultaneous.
Right,
so the game was simultaneous. So we had to play at another venue. And then when we pulled up to this field, I was like, this is like, it's so different. Like, but they were saying that field is the holy ground for people in Ilo, and it seems to be like it was where they produce so many players.
That was in Barotac Nuevo? Dun
Yeah.
mismo kayo naglaro.
In front of the church.
Yeah. But how like with being in the national team, did you feel, because obviously how old were you at the time? You were quite young.
17.
Did you feel like you deserved to be there? Did you feel a little bit like, not starstruck, but did you feel, I'm a little bit out of my depth because I'm pretty young compared to these other guys? Obviously, Phil and James Younghusband were in the squad at the time, so quite sort of big celebrities.
Just to be there on that squad, it's an honor. Of course, you're a young player, and then also the coach wants me to expose to that kind of level. So I'm very grateful that I'm part of that of that team.
Yeah.
Even if you don't play, at least you will see the players who are playing. Oh, this is how they play. This.
And what did you think? Did you learn much from that? And if you did, what did you take away from being around?
Yeah, of
those
course.
players?
Seeing Ian Araneta, Phil Younghusband before. So I think that's in my mind, that how you run, how you protect the ball, how you play.
Yeah. I think when I look back at that time, because that was quite a transitional period, we had, like we said, we had a bunch of players that had just come in. You had been in the squad, and then I didn't really see you until you came to Kaya, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But I think there was a lot of people who kind of came and went, and that was there was a high turnover of players in and around that sort of period. But for me, what I sort of saw you as someone with a lot of potential, with a lot of ability. I think you were a lot skinnier then, smaller, skinny boy, but big. You were quite big for your age, weren't you? You were physically quite capable. And then the next time I saw you, we were talking a little bit off mic, was you came to try out for Kaya.
Yeah.
Maybe this is probably 2014. Is that
13,
right?
I think.
13? 2000.
I was with Stallion FC before.
Yeah. And you'd taken a very different shape
Yeah.
by that time. You got a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Fatter.
I went home because I don't want to play football anymore.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I didn't get enough money, and then I miss my family. So
Yeah.
I'm just in Barotac drinking beers, all this stuff. So that's why. And then this Paul Tolentino, the manager of Kaya FC.
Yeah.
He called me up, and then he said, "Can you please try out with us? Cause I think you're a good player." So I said maybe just one day, cause I have to go back home. So we book a flight going to Manila, and then David Perkovic, our coach, and then I scored in the friendly four goals. I was 85 kilos, I think, or yeah, against Anton, against the players of Kaya.
Yeah.
And then David Perkovic was like, "Oh, this guy is out of shape, but he can play." So Paul said, "Can you still stay until maybe 1 week?" And then I said, "No, I will go home now." And then he called me again. Then he said, "Yeah, we will sign you. We will sign you." So, and then I had the picture in Google. I was so fat. I was like, "Oh, this is me, or is this me, or?"
You couldn't believe it.
Yeah, of course, I'm a different person. I was like, "Oh, I'm so fat." I was just.
I remember. I'm not sure if that was a tryout or if it was maybe one of the first training sessions in pre-season, and I honestly didn't recognize you because I hadn't seen him since he was probably 17, right? And he was just a different shape. Obviously, you were just a kid, really, at that age. So I didn't even recognize him. And then I remember someone told me, "That's Jovin." I said, "Jovin?" No. I said he couldn't be. I think he was wearing like a jacket or something. You were wearing like just so you could try and sweat more, so you could try and sweat out the fat. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. I literally couldn't believe like the size of you. But one thing I think actually putting on some of the weight helped was like I want to talk a little bit about your style of play, because I think as a player, Jovin is very unique to the Philippines. Like I then watched you in terms of like how you hold the ball up, how you link the play, how you are able to, in tight spaces, manipulate the ball and work your way out of trouble. Like I think you're very different to a lot of the players that I've certainly been across in the Philippines. Like I look at someone like Chieffy Caligdong, for example, is your more traditional, like small, very agile, fast. There are quite a lot of players that are like him, but your style was almost kind of more European in a way. Like I would always call him Berbatov. I think he reminds me of Berbatov the way before like that sort of style. Like where is that a style that did it evolve, or were you always that type of player? Because you said your brother was quite a fast, powerful player. Like were you like that when you were younger, or have you always been someone who's had his own? I do everything at my own pace. I like to do, work with my technique. Very sort of calm on the ball. Have you always been like that, or is that something that has developed over time?
I don't know. Maybe when you're playing in Barotac Nuevo, of course they're physical.
Yeah.
You have to look first, so that they cannot smash you from behind.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. And of course, Norman Fegidero also helped me with that, because I was playing on the midfield before, and then he moved me to the striker, and because he was a striker also. So, he helped me with that.
With that transition, yeah.
I always found that it was a bit strange the way he plays. Jovin, I mean, he's from Barotac Nuevo, and you see like a mold of player that you were saying, like explosive, agile, and he's not that type at all, right? I mean, he likes to hold the ball up, he likes to dink the ball over. He's got a really good vision, and it's rare to see. And it takes somebody who appreciates football to understand what he's doing and why he's positioning himself here, why he's making a late run there. And I don't know, it's fascinating to see, and I think people who appreciate Jovin's game are people who are a little bit more knowledgeable about what they're watching.
It absolutely. It took me a while.
Yeah, it's easy.
It took me a while to figure out actually, and I'm someone who I think I've got quite a good eye, and it took me a while to kind of figure out actually how he fits into the puzzle. Like, and because I think if you let's say watch you in training, like some people think you're lazy. Sometimes you're lazy, but some people think you're lazy, right? But he's not. He definitely is not lazy. I wouldn't call you a lazy player at all. But because you're like, you might look at someone, I'll keep picking on Chieffy, but someone like Chieffy, because he's all of his arms and his limbs are moving. Like he looks busier than he actually maybe is, right? Whereas you got your own style, and you don't ever seem like you're in a hurry. But you're a very diligent worker. You do work hard. So I think it's but it's definitely something that you have to. It's a nuance, isn't it? It's something you have to really observe, and it takes a bit of time to appreciate. And I think sometimes people can misinterpret how you play because it's not. You're quite calm. You never seem rushed. You never seem hurried. But it definitely takes a trained eye to actually, I think, appreciate what he brings to the table.
That's why when he started scoring the goals last year, everybody started like noticing or had to look at Jovin, and then they started appreciating the rest of his game, right? I mean, how many assists, how many goals did you score last season?
10 goals, 10 assists.
Yeah, and most of those were probably in the second half of the season, right?
Yeah.
Almost exclusively.
Yeah. Double, huh?
Double. Explain to me what was it about? Obviously, we talked about when you moved to Ilo was like the sort of the catalyst to a lot of that upturn. Your form became really, really good. But talk to me about your partnership with Mendy, because it seems like an odd couple. The two of you don't seem like they're very different personalities. But then when you put the two of you together, for whatever happened, there seems to be fireworks every time you play together.
That guy, Mendy, man, he's just hardworking guy. It's just when I run, he covers me. When he runs, I cover him.
Yeah.
It's just, it's in training, I think, when you run together or you talk about the game. I think that's the reason why.
That's where you established the chemistry, you think?
Yeah, chemistry.
Because both of you had, the second half of the season, you were almost unplayable.
I remember you didn't start him, and then he was working hard every day.
Yeah, because he hadn't scored. You were saying, weren't you? He hadn't scored in about 6 months, and he had some personal problems. I think some you obviously know now, but obviously he had some personal problems. He has issues with his father passed away, and I think mentally he wasn't in the best. He wasn't in the best space, and so rather than we could have kept pushing him because he's a very good player. Absolutely, he was a very good player, but he just wasn't in great form, and you could tell he had other stuff on his mind and whatever. Even with you, like you were playing out of position a lot of that time. We were playing you on more kind of on the left hand side, and we were trying to find a system that fit best with everybody. Like for example, we had Miguel Tanton, we had Reedy, and then we had other players in the midfield that you could play. So it's like, could we play Jovin in the middle in a number 10 position where we think he could accentuate some of your skills? But we weren't really playing a system that would benefit you in that sense, because we had Miguel in that position who was playing. I think that my second season, he played really, really well. But we had to play you. We had to find a way, so we played you more on the left. Then that season, really when Jordan got injured, poor Jordan. Obviously it didn't work out for him, but for you and ultimately for the rest of the team, that seemed to be the start of. For you, it must have been the best form of your career, really.
Yeah, and after that, I went to the national team.
Yep, scored against Thailand in the Suzuki Cup. Went into the Asian Cup team. Like, it's unbelievable.
I would go as far as to say within that period, I would say probably September to December of that season, you were probably the best player in the Philippines at that time. I would probably go as far as to say that.
And I think one thing, because I promised my family that 2019 will be better for us, for my family.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because of course we're struggling also for the money and all the stuff. So I told them, of course, had that.
You can talk in Tagalog. Come on, you said you can't express yourself.
I mean the love life,
Yeah.
Why? What happened?
I struggle with my love life. So, Suzuki Cup. So I was having a problem with my girlfriend. Then I said to my family that, leave it up to me. Then 2019 will be better for all of us. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember when, I think, did you go to the Middle Eastern camps? Did you go to the Middle Eastern camp? Did you go to Bahrain?
Bahrain.
You went to Bahrain, right? You were there. And I remember that's right, because you came on in the game against so basically in Bahrain we had the game against Bahrain.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had the list of players that we wanted to use. And then we had the game against the club team. And I think you came on in the second half, did really well. And then I think you sort of put yourself in a position where I thought, yeah, he's got a good chance of making the Suzuki Cup squad. You then had a really good, obviously you finished well, scored the winning goal in the cup final. And then you made it to the Suzuki Cup squad. Then, of course, new coach comes in.
Yeah,
So
Sven.
Sven-Goran Eriksson comes in. And obviously he doesn't know anyone.
Right.
You know, it's not like, you know, me or Scott or a local coach who at least we know a little bit about you. Like, he had no idea who anyone was. And I remember going into that Thailand game because it was a game where really we couldn't afford to lose. And I don't think you played in the first two games, did you? You
No.
didn't play in the Singapore win or the East Timor win. And we knew, I think, a draw would probably be good enough to qualify. I think you trained really well. I think there was a couple of training sessions where you trained really well.
And I remember Strag told me that I think you should play because every training you scored.
fire. On fire. But obviously he didn't know. He didn't know that you had really good form. He didn't know any of that. And obviously for me, I was saying, look, Jovin's pretty good. You know, he plays at my club. He's this and that. He can bring this to the table. And I remember we were talking in that Thailand game because we were 1-0 down.
Right. Yep.
We were 1-0 down. And Sven was trying to make some subs. He was trying to move a couple of people around. But he wanted to put you on. And it was like we were trying to figure out how he was going to do it. And I remember we were deliberating on the bench. We were talking. Because obviously I was like, no, I feel like he'd be better in a more central position. So he was like, well, maybe we put him out wide on the left or put him out. I was like, I think he'd be better in a more central position. You know, I think he could do some damage there. And who did you come on for? Who did we take off?
Palya.
So what we did was we took Pala off, who was playing left back, and we ended up putting Ian Ramsey. We ended up putting Ian Ramsey at left back, which allowed you to play in a more central role. So I think we put Shrocky wide. I think we put Shrocky in a wide position. So we rejigged the formation and we put Jovin in that more central spot. So we put the board up. Jovin comes on. Do you want to take it from here? What happened? What happened after you came on?
Of course, yun nga, yung feeling na yan na binigyan ka ng chance ng coach na maglaro. So, nung pumasok ako, one thing in my mind lang na I think ito lang talaga yung magagawa ko siguro. Ibigay ko yung lahat, yung best ko. Then, let's see what will happen. Then, yun nga, we get the ball in the middle with Strauss. And then, we combined passes. Then, I turn around, then there's no one there in front of me. Then, I saw Patrick Rachel here on the side. But then, you know, as a striker, you're in front of the goal. So, I said, I'll just smash the ball. And I think the Thailand player got hit on his leg. So, it went this way. But I don't know what happened after it went to the post, right? And then the ball just rolled back. Spin towards the other post. And then it just went in. And I was like, oh my God. And then you're in front of the 1,000 people. So I was in shock that time. Yeah, you said the form. I was in form. I scored every important game. So
I was in Malaysia then. We were doing the Kaya AFC Cup draw. And we were watching it in a hotel lobby with all the other Filipino guys who were at that trip. I remember speaking to some of the Thai club representatives. They were all talking like, no chance. Philippines got no chance tomorrow. Thailand too strong. And it was nice walking in the next day and seeing all those Thai guys. Like our boy Jovin just said what's up last night, 1-1. That's gotta feel pretty good. I mean, Thailand pa ang naskoran mo. That's a huge goal to score. How do you think that impacted? I think that put you up on the national stage after that. I mean, everybody knew you were a good player, but once you score that goal in the Suzuki Cup, medyo nag-iba yung profile mo. Ano yung pagkakaiba after that match, do you feel?
Siguro mas maraming nakakilala sa'yo. Even sa Iloilo. Even yung taga Barotac. Sabi ko, bakit pa kayo nagpapapicture sa akin na every December naman nandito ako? Parang, but, na-appreciate ko talaga yun. Then, every call-ups, nandun ako. So, talagang naset ko yung mind ko na kailangan ko pa maging igihan yung training and laro ko para every time nasa national team ako. And nabigyan ko ng maging proud yung family and yung Iloilo.
Wow.
I think I'm away from the mic. I was just listening there, trying to digest. I got most of it. I got the gist of most of it. There's sometimes when you, especially as a coach, I think you can have a plan or you have an idea of how things are going to work, and yeah, you need to work to a plan. Sometimes when you make a decision, it's just on gut feeling, like just what you feel inside. That just something says, and I think sometimes your gut feeling is completely wrong. Sometimes it's right, but especially as a coach, you have to live and die by those feelings, and you got to trust your instincts. And I'm not going to take full credit at all, because Sven was the one who came up and was like, "No, let's get Jovin on. Let's get Jovin on. Let's get him on." He'd seen something in you in the training sessions, which I think was a carryover really from your form with the club. Which at that time, like I said, I felt you were the best player in the league for that sort of 3 or 4 month period. For me, and you and Mendy in particular, best Filipino player for sure. And that form had carried on into the camp. And although, you look at the other players that we had in the camp at the time, obviously Patino, but he came out injured. But you had the likes, obviously, like Rachel had a really good competition. Phil was playing at the time. But that's quite a huge responsibility to say, right, I'm going to throw on this player in that moment. And as an assistant, obviously, you can give your opinion. You can say, yes or no, or I don't think that's the right move or whatever. But I just felt because ultimately he has the final say, the coach, and he has to have his own feelings. But when he turned to me, I can remember the moment, and he was like, let's get Jovin on. I'm like, yes. This is like, I think that's a great move. This is going to be if we can put him in the right spot, I think it's going to be the right decision. And then when he was talking about putting him in other positions, and then we just had that conversation, we just had that dialogue. But I definitely had that sort of feeling inside me that something was going to happen. And what was really, really strange about it, I don't know how you felt on the pitch. Maybe you're oblivious to it. But when you came on, I felt like the crowd and like the other people around me had that same feeling. Because obviously a lot of the guys who were on the bench, Ceres guys or whatever, they might not be guys who you necessarily get along with in the games. Because again, we talked about this last week, right? Because you were always you were always the target, right? You were always the target. Like Shrocky and I would talk like, you were always the problem. Right? You were always a problem on the pitch, and that's a compliment. I mean that in a nice way, right? You're always giving them hassle. But I felt like when you came on, there was definitely that, especially for someone who doesn't necessarily, you didn't have many caps, and like you weren't a huge name at the time. Right. But to put you in a big game. This is against supposedly the best team in Southeast Asia, in a moment where we had to get a goal, right? This we had to get that. But even the rest of the team was looking at you thinking, right, yeah, let's give him the ball. He can do something. He's got, he's trained well. He's been playing well. He can make something happen. And I think, I don't know if you felt it on the pitch, but for me, it felt like as soon as you came on the pitch, there was a different energy in the game.
Yeah, I think, of course, I just play my game because, we had how many subs in the bench?
Yeah.
And we just need three players.
Yeah, exactly.
And then when you guys called me, I was like, oh, this is my chance. And also Amani Aganaldo was telling me, hey, bro, this is your chance. You go there and show them. Yeah. And then, that's just what happened in the game. And maybe they were surprised also from the bench that, I scored that goal.
Walang kaba-kaba? Nothing?
Wala. Barotac Nuevo, walang kaba talaga.
Wow.
But you know what's funny about the photographs that came out? Same photographs.
Yeah.
Crazy Eyes again.
Crazy Eyes.
Your Crazy Eyes.
Just a little different because, you and Martin, for example, not the best of friends on the field on opposing sides, but arm around the shoulder. Yeah. And there was a lot of joking going on in like the Kaya group, like, ooh, new best friend there, Jovin.
Yeah, but it's different when you're playing for your country and your club. Of course, if it's in your club, you have to, die for your club also, like in your country. So it's very different.
And I'm not sure about that because I'm not sure, going off topic, but did you see about the Raheem Sterling? So there's a Raheem Sterling. So Liverpool played Manchester City on Sunday. Then on the Monday they went to England camp, and then they ended up having a fight in the cafeteria.
Oh wow!
With one another. Yeah. So it's not always the case that teammates get
Right.
and with a national team they don't always get along if they have issues with their club. So.
Jovin can compartmentalize. How do you say that? Compartmentalize. There you
Yeah.
go.
He's actually not that good. We'll keep that one secret, the other one, but he's not always as good as he makes out. Let's just say that. And then, I mean, obviously after that, you started the next game in Indonesia, and then didn't really feature much thereafter, did you? Obviously, and then you went to AFC Cup, AFC Asian Cup, but didn't really feature too much in those games. I mean, obviously you're 29 now. So for me, you're kind of getting into your prime, right? You're
getting older.
I don't say older. You're getting into your prime. Where do you see your role? Like, do you hope that you can still play a pivotal role with the national team? Do you think that's something that you would like to be more involved with moving forward?
Yeah, I would love to be with the national team all the time, and of course start.
Yeah.
But of course, I don't know if you're there, then of course the coach will see.
Yeah.
Maybe for me next season, or maybe I want to play abroad, but let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the future plans for you? Because I know, especially after that Thailand game, like your profile, as you said, went through the roof, and I know some of the people they're messaging me asking about who you work, and got any videos of this guy? Tell me a little bit more about him. Like I know there wasn't a shortage of interest for your services last year, but you decided you were gonna stay. What are the plans for you? Like what would you like to do between now and the end of your career?
I think after that, my family is in Canada also. My brother, so maybe after after my career, I'll move there, or maybe I'll go back to Iloilo. Make an academy, or to give back to my hometown.
Yeah.
For the kids also, because before I said I will stop playing football, right? But then after that, the Thailand game, I was like, it's really different. Like when you play for your country, also for your family, to a better future. Or of course, we're getting older, so you have to save money for yourself and for your family, for the future. So I think for the kids back home, I think just don't stop if you want to reach your goals.
That's a great message. What do you think? Make a good coach, this one?
I don't know. He sees the game in a special way. You see that by the way he plays. But to be able to translate that to somebody else is another question altogether. So I don't know. I've seen Jovin around kids, and he's good around the kids. But I don't know, just a few clinics.
Maybe in Iloilo. I really want to have an academy in Iloilo.
So when you say academy or potentially moving to Canada, how many years down the road is that? You're 29 now.
Yeah, maybe 4 or 5 years.
Wow. But and then in between that and now, what do you see yourself like playing? PFL, playing Kaya, playing abroad. What?
Yeah, I really wanted to stay with Kaya, but of course, if I'm just being honest here. That's if there's a bigger salary in abroad like Thailand, so maybe I'll grab it if given a chance, of course.
As a Kaya man, that hurts me a little bit. I want to see Jovin play.
Even last season, I almost moved to Saris or in Thailand, but then I still stay with Kaya. But
I mean,
let's see. If you're getting older, you will realize that.
I think when you look at like club loyalty to certain people, they fail to look at what's best for the individual. And like I suppose like a bigger contract, you cannot really hold a player back from uplifting themselves in that manner. It would be fantastic to see Jovin play abroad and be amongst those that represent the quality and talent that we have from the Philippines. But of course, as a Kaya, a man and part of the team, it's like it'd be tough to see Jovin go for sure.
Well, we sort of talked about this a little bit on the way here, didn't we? We weren't sure if we were going to kind of broach this topic and this subject, because I think one of the things that we have to remember with Jove, I coached him for 3 years and I played with him for a number of years also, is that his career is very short. He's only got a very short career. Half of that was gone because he was drinking and eating too much in Bacolod when he should have been looking after himself. But the career is very short. Like again, I was privy to some of the things that was going on with him at that time, and especially with, back end of last season, and he had the opportunities to go most places. He did have the opportunity to go a lot of different places, and I think his loyalty to the club was there, and then he opted to stay. For me, like I would love to see him. I'm not just saying this, but I would love to see him and more homegrown Filipinos play abroad. I can't talk for your personal circumstances. I can't talk about your financial situation or whatever. But that's the other thing. Obviously, people need to look after their families, because if you only have a short career and you can earn 5, 10, 20 times what you can here in the Philippines, it's very hard for you to say, right, no, I'm going to stay. I'm going to stay with this club, because naturally you've got to sign a contract that's hopefully going to put you and your family in a better position. And I know Jovin turned down a lot more money to go other places and opted to stay with the club that he's been with for a long time. So I think that's something that people are unaware of perhaps, but he should be commended for that, because there were certainly better options financially for you if you'd have gone elsewhere. But I would love to see more local Filipinos.
Sure.
Homegrown Filipinos. Because we've had this conversation a little bit before, Jove, just so you know, because I think there's a lot of really talented players that are brought up here in the Philippines, and if they're given the opportunities, I think they can flourish. I mean, only in recent years you've seen, obviously, Dato's gone, has gone abroad. Amani's gone abroad. Casambre has gone abroad. Right, so there's 3 in this year alone. I know we haven't had much success perhaps at the youth national team level, but I definitely feel as though there are a lot of talented players that are out there. And all it takes is just for someone with the foresight, with the passion and the energy to want to develop and cultivate those. Someone like yourself in your in your city or in your province or in your area, then I think there's a lot more quality Filipinos that could be developed. Initially, maybe coming in the PFL level, but certainly who could go abroad and have a really, really good career for themselves. Definitely, I definitely think that is possible. And maybe you're that man. Maybe you're that man to do it. Who knows?
I see.
What do you think? But would you like to like? Obviously, you said about coaching, but would you like to coach?
Yeah,
would you
of course, yeah.
More kids level, or would you like to do like a professional team?
First, I will just give back to my hometown first.
Yeah.
Then after that, let's see what will happen next.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And also, he's got to find himself a new lady friend as well. He was talking about his heartbreak on the way here. I'm not going to talk about that, but yeah, maybe we need to sort that out.
Let's cut it up.
I wanted to ask real quick before we wrap it up.
Yeah.
Like, what do you see in the pipeline? Right, we were talking about having homegrown players go and play abroad, but when you're looking down at the players, the next generation, may nakikita ka ba ng mga particular individuals out there that you think are ripe for the next level or stepping up to this? Essentially, it's like an international, continental stage of level of football.
Siguro sa Barotac siguro marami, but then pumupunta din sila sa Manila. Like they had scholarships in FEU. Yeah, we had some players there from Barotac Nuevo. Siguro kailangan lang siguro ng suporta siguro ng of course the PFF, the Philippines. Kailangan lang na suporta ng mga bata siguro para ma-develop like of course from the Azkals we're getting players abroad like half foreign players. So doon lang tayo nag-excel sa sa Azkals lang. But then yung mga under 19, under 23, we need more players na homegrown na i-develop for us to represent also the country. Of course, the players from the Azkals also they're not getting younger now. So we need to get players abroad. So what if they have club duties also? So much better na i-develop yung kids until they grow up and then play for our country.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Awesome. No, I think that's a really valid one. Like I said, I think there's a lot of talented homegrown players, and for me, if it's developed, if it's nurtured, I think those players will level up. I think it was you who talked about this the other day. Was like Chieffy, for example. Chieffy really didn't have. He shouldn't have been in that national team squad. Like he for as long as he was. He should have been one of the first ones out. He's small. He's physically not the most developed, but he was able to elevate his game because he was around other players. My group. Then later on, even better players who had been raised in Europe who developed their game there. But I definitely think that if I look at our team that we had last year. I mean, like Jalsor.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, for sure, it is of, and for me, he just hasn't had the exposure because he hasn't been called up to the national teams. He hasn't been training with those players. But if he had earlier, I mean, he could easily play at that level. For me, like he was one of the players who I really, really felt could make that step up because I think he had all of the attributes. Shoma Falonko, another one. Like obviously he was involved, but he has the physical stature. He's quick. He's got tenacity. Very hard to beat 1v1.
Yeah.
You know, he's got those attributes. Again, another one. I think if he'd been involved with the squad for a little bit more, or had the chance to play with some players who could elevate his game, he would be even better than he is now. Not to say he's not a good player. Yeah. But and I could go on and on and on. There's loads of other players we could give an example to. Perhaps you're the one who's actually been around the national team a little bit longer than most, but even you, like I think, had you been involved a little earlier, your game again would have really developed from that. So I think it's definitely up to, I think the local football community to try to develop those kids because I think once they've given the opportunity, I mean you're a prime example. If you're given the opportunity, I think you're going to produce the goods. You know, Dato has done very well when called upon in the national team. Amani, really, really well. Yeah. I mean, you only have to look at Marco's performance in the Suzuki Cup back in 2018. Is it 18, 17?
Just the last one?
The one before where he came in and made his debut against Thailand in the Suzuki Cup. I mean, he came in, didn't he? 17, 18, thrown in against Thailand, started, played, was great. So homegrown players can do well. They can do well. But they have to be given the chance, and they also have to be given the opportunity to develop alongside those people. Because I think once they do, then anyone can do well. That's my theory anyway. You can agree or disagree.
I think that is the key. That is the biggest hole that in Philippine football is there's nothing going on in the youth level. Like that you really need to like step up the game and in making sure that there is a unified movement from the youth team into the national team, and you can see the funnel and you see the trajectory in which you're going, and you're not going to get tempted to step out of line because that will ruin your chances of making it to the national team. So there's more incentive there if they can professionalize the pathway into the national team for sure. I'd say
definitely. But we'll start to wrap this up. We'll start to wrap it up. So my final sort of line of questioning is going to be around this weekend's games. Obviously, you've worked your way through the group. Fairly comfortable win in the semi-final, the Mendiola 3-0 game. Was it? No, there was 0-0 at half time, right? Then you came good in the second half. But AFC is now secured for next season, so that's one positive. The negative is obviously you've got our old friend Ceres in the final.
Yeah.
What are your predictions for this weekend's game? Bearing in mind, this is going to go out after the final. So whatever you say, you could be really, really right or terribly wrong. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think we're gonna win this one. Of course, they had some of their best players in the national team, and that's also our opportunity for us to win the game. And I think
a few of the guys are missing, aren't they? Because they've gone off.
Yeah.
They've gone off to the Maldives.
Yeah, and also they had like 13 players are still here. I don't know, maybe 13, 14, but you know, even if they are here or what, maybe of course we're struggling in the league. We didn't win any against them, but of course, this is our time to redeem ourselves. Maybe in this, and of course this is a cup. This is our crown here, so we have to defend it.
Yeah. Where do you see potential weakness? Obviously, you said that they've only probably got 13 or so players that are fit, active, and potentially available for selection. But where do you see potentially some weakness in their team?
I don't know. It's just
you do know. You just don't want to say. Come on.
I don't know. I mean, like if we play like last year, like our hungerness or the fire in the game, like like before. I think even if they're complete or what, we can still beat this team.
Yeah, definitely. And where do you think your team's strengths lie this time around?
Of course, our striker, of course, Jordan Minta.
Yeah, he's had a good season.
Yeah,
very good season.
Yeah.
What a way!
Scorer.
What a way to come back from a devastating knee injury, huh?
Yeah.
He's had a great season.
Just come back and score 31 goals.
31 goals.
All right.
Yeah, he's done very well.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of the remnants from last year's team they're still there.
Yeah, almost the same.
A lot of the same guys. So, from I say my perspective, but actually probably our perspective, this is a little bit of a Kaya centric threesome here. It's definitely. I think it's a great opportunity for you guys to wrap up some silverware. Obviously, coming second in the league it's not where you want to finish. You kind of always want to win the title, but I think Ceres again have just been a really, really dominant team in the league, and that they've performed admirably given some of the circumstances that they've been dealt with this year. So I think you have to give them credit.
I think they're the best team this season. Yeah.
I think so. I think you might have an argument if even last season we beat them on a couple of occasions, didn't we? In the league, even the games that we lost. I remember the one where we lost in Iloilo where Mendy was sent off early.
Yeah.
And
by the fourth official.
It was a shock. And then Jason Panay missed the chance really late on to equalise. Yeah. But we played really, really well. I think even last season, I think some of the games where I think Ceres, although they won the league, they knew against us they didn't really have our mark. No, I think it was one win, was it 2 draws and a loss or something like that? Or something like that.
Yeah.
I think
we won in Panay, lost one in Iloilo, and drew twice.
Yeah, and drew twice. So it was like, in terms of if you're going to win a title, you need to beat the best teams. And I think, for them they've beaten you obviously this season in the league. They deserve credit for that. Yeah. But obviously in the final, I think I would traditionally a bit more of a cup side. Is that
way.
Fair?
It seems that way.
We've had some good moments with Ceres in the cup. You've had some bad moments, right? I mean, you're getting sent off in one of the games for lashing out, but hopefully you guys can put in a performance that like you did last year, and hopefully, especially for you, because last year was definitely the Jovin Bedic final. So I hope that
Bedic.
Bedic. Hopefully it'll be the Croatian prince who'll show up again on Saturday. And fingers crossed you can put in another great performance and bring home the bacon. Sorry, anyone who's the Ceres fan watching or listening to this, but it's your show, so you get to say whatever you want. Okay, but I'd just like to wish you all the best for the final.
Yeah, a repeat would be nice because I'm gonna be there this time, so I'd like to celebrate amongst other people rather than myself in a room full of strangers who are looking at me like, "Whoa, what happened to this guy?" Right? He's gone crazy all of a sudden. So, yeah, it'll be nice. best of luck, Jove. Chris told me that you were going to be the guest today. I thought this was unmissable. Jovin Bedic, this guy's special character.
Like just to sign off, really. Like I would just like to say, from my perspective, we went from basically me having a head coach relationship to assistant coach relationship with the national team, and we haven't really had a chance really to talk. But it was a pleasure to play with you. I think in terms of talent-wise, one of the most talented, for me, if I'm being honest, if not the most talented Philippine footballer that I played with. I've played with a lot of domestic players who have other attributes. Ali was always a good leader. Amani, very physically strong. Chieffy was quite athletic, dynamic, But in terms of like all-round ability, I think I'm hard-pressed to find or think of someone who, homegrown, has been a more talented footballer than you. I think that's something that I've held that opinion for a long time. Maybe as a coach, I was a bit harsh, and I never really demonstrated that or intimated that with you. But that's how, especially how you performed last year. I think for me that was really where you demonstrated to everyone just the level of Jovin Bedic, and I feel like you're one of, if not the most talented footballer, certainly of my generation, to come out of the Philippines, which I think is. Coming from me, I don't really hand out praise very often, but I genuinely believe that. And for me, what I hope moving forward is that you're able to fulfill, the potential that you've obviously got, whether that's here, whether that's abroad, if you take your talents elsewhere, whatever. That's up to you to decide, and based on the opportunities that you get presented to you. But I just want to say it was a pleasure playing alongside you. It was a pleasure to work with you in a coaching capacity, and it's been a pleasure having you on the show today. So
thank you, Chris.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.
If you want to hear more content, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and additionally you can download this episode on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify.